Nia stepped out of her old worn car and looked around. The sun was just rising over the small town, painting the sky with soft orange and pink colors. The shooting range was quiet, with a few people already preparing their guns. The air smelled like fresh earth mixed with gunpowder. Nia was a quiet woman. She did not speak much, and her face was calm and gentle. She wore a simple jacket and jeans, and her hair was tied back neatly. She carried a small bag with care, and in it, her most precious possession, her sniper rifle. To most people at the range, she looked like someone who didn't belong. As she walked toward the range, a few men sitting on benches whispered to each other. Their eyes followed her, full of doubt and judgment. "That woman? She's not one of us," one man said quietly, but with a sneer. "Looks like she's never touched a gun before," another laughed. Nia heard nothing. She kept her eyes straight ahead, her steps slow and steady. She did not want to fight or argue. She knew the world was full of people who judged others by their looks, and she was used to it. But deep inside, she had a fire burning, a fire to prove them all wrong. At the entrance, the shooting range manager looked at her with surprise. "You're here early," he said, his voice a little rough. "Yes," Nia replied softly. "I want to practice." He nodded and waved her in. She found a quiet corner and began unpacking her gear carefully. Her hands moved with experience and care. Years of practice had made her skilled, though most did not know that yet. The other shooters looked at her with curiosity mixed with doubt. Some moved away, whispering behind her back. One man in a leather jacket approached, his eyes cold. "This place isn't for beginners," he said with a smirk. "Maybe you should go home." Nia did not answer. She just looked at him with steady eyes, then turned back to her rifle. The sun climbed higher, and more people arrived. The shooting range slowly filled with men and women, most of them confident and loud. They wore expensive gear, and some carried the latest guns. Nia looked small among them, but she did not feel weak. A few children played nearby, watching the adults. One little boy stared at Nia with wide eyes, sensing something different about her. The range manager called out, "We will start the challenge in 10 minutes. Get ready." People moved to their spots, setting up targets and checking their weapons. The noise of metal clicking and shells loading filled the air. But Nia stayed calm, her breathing slow and steady. She carefully picked up her sniper rifle. It was a special rifle. Not new, but well cared for. She knew every part of it like a close friend. She adjusted the scope and took a deep breath. The crowd began to notice. The quiet woman with the gentle face was preparing for her first shot. Whispers spread. "Who does she think she is? She won't last long." But Nia's eyes were focused and sharp. She raised her rifle slowly and took aim at the distant target. For a moment, time seemed to stop. The birds in the trees paused their songs. The people held their breath. Then Nia pulled the trigger. The sharp sound of the shot echoed through the Yurishi. Everyone's eyes turned to the target, and there, right in the center of the bullseye, was her bullet hole. The crowd gasped. Some mouths opened in surprise. The men who had mocked her fell silent, their faces showing shock. Nia lowered her rifle but did not smile. She only kept her calm face, her eyes still burning with quiet strength. The range manager stepped forward, his voice loud enough for all to hear. "That was the best shot I've seen in a long time." People started to look at Nia differently. The whispers changed from mocking to wondering. Who was this quiet woman? What secrets did she hide behind that calm face? Nia knew this was only the beginning. She was ready for what was coming next. As the sun rose higher, the crowd waited, full of tension and curiosity. Nia stood alone, but her heart was strong. She whispered softly, almost to herself. This is only the first shot. After her perfect first shot, the atmosphere at the shooting range changed. The men who had laughed before now watched her with quiet surprise. The women, too, seemed curious but respectful. Nia stood still, holding her rifle carefully, not letting the attention bother her. The shooting range manager cleared his throat. "Now we will start the real challenge. Everyone will get 3 shots. The one with the best aim wins." The crowd murmured with excitement. Nia quietly moved to her shooting spot, where the targets were set far away. She could feel the eyes on her measuring every move. A man near her whispered, "You're lucky that first shot was good. You won't get another like that." Nia didn't answer. She focused on the target, her hands steady and calm. She had practiced for years, far away from places like this where people doubted her. But today she was here to prove something. Not just to them, but to herself. The man next to her took his first shot. The bullet hit the outer ring of the target. He smiled proudly and looked at Nia. "Try to do better than that," he said, still a little rude. Nia lifted her rifle again. She adjusted her breath and looked through the scope. The target was clear and still. Her finger pressed the trigger gently. Bang! The bullet hit closer to the center this time. A small cheer came from the crowd. The man frowned, his smile gone. The third shot came quickly after. Each time, Nia's aim was steady and true. The crowd's whispers grew louder, filled with shock and respect. Suddenly, the CEO of the company that owned the range appeared. He was a tall man with a stern face. He walked up to the crowd, clearly annoyed. "Who is this woman making a scene? Here?" he asked loudly. His eyes landed on Nia. "This is Nia," said the manager quietly. "She's competing." The CEO laughed coldly. "A janitor's daughter thinks she can beat our best shooters? This is a joke." Nia's heart tightened, but she did not show it. She kept her calm, her eyes steady. The CEO stepped closer, looking down at her. "If you want to prove anything, fix this broken engine outside." No one has managed to fix it. For months, the crowd gasped. The broken engine was a famous problem. Many engineers had tried and failed. Nia looked at the CEO, then at the engine. A quiet smile appeared on her lips. "I accept," she said simply. The CEO scoffed but nodded. "We will see if you are as good as you think." As Nia walked toward the engine, the crowd followed, full of curiosity and doubt. Some people still whispered, "She's just lucky." Others hoped she might surprise them again. Nia reached the engine, a large rusted machine covered in dirt and old oil stains. It looked impossible to fix. She knelt down and ran her fingers over the metal parts. She listened to the soft sounds the engine made, her mind working fast. The CEO watched from a distance, his arms crossed. "This will be quick," he said. "She won't last 5 minutes." But Nia ignored him. She took out her small toolkit from her bag and began working. Her hands moved with skill and confidence. She tightened bolts, checked wires, and cleaned old parts carefully. Minutes passed and the crowd grew quiet. Everyone watched her, not daring to speak. The sun was high now, shining bright on the old engine and the focused woman. Suddenly, the engine roared to life. The crowd gasped again. The impossible was done. Nia stood up slowly, wiping sweat from her forehead. Her calm smile grew wider. The CEO's face changed from smug to shocked. He did not know what to say. Nia looked at him quietly and said, "You doubted me, but I just showed you what I can do." The crowd erupted in applause, but some people still whispered in disbelief. Nia knew this was only the beginning of her journey. She had proven herself today, but many challenges still awaited. As she looked around, the little boy from the shooting range gave her a thumbs up. That small gesture made her heart warm. She whispered again, "I'm not done yet." After the engine started, the crowd slowly began to change. Some clapped loudly, others whispered in surprise. But not everyone was happy. The CEO's face stayed hard and cold. He stepped forward and said loudly, "This was a lucky fix. I don't believe she can do it again." Nia stayed calm. She knew winning once was not enough. "Let me show you more," she said quietly. Word spread fast. People in the town started talking about the janitor's daughter who fixed the impossible engine. Some admired her, but others still doubted. Back at the company, her father, Malik, watched the news. On his old TV, he smiled proudly but worried too. He knew the road ahead for Nia would be tough. Meanwhile, Nia was invited to a meeting with the CEO and top engineers. The CEO didn't want to admit defeat, but had no choice. "We need your help," he said reluctantly. The engineers brought out a bigger, even more complicated machine. It was old, rusty, and broken for years. Nia looked at it carefully. I can try, she said. As she worked, some engineers sneered quietly. She's just a lucky girl, one whispered. She doesn't belong here. Nia ignored the whispers. Her hands moved confidently. She worked late into the night, checking every wire and bolt. The next morning, the machine started. This time, no one could deny her skill, but the CEO still wanted more proof. He set a challenge that seemed impossible. Fix this new engine by the end of the week, he said. If you fail, you will leave. Nia's heart pounded, but she nodded. She was ready. Outside the company, people watched closely. Some came to support her, bringing food and drinks. Others just waited to see her fail. Every day, Nia worked harder. She stayed late, studied the machines, and asked questions. Her father helped too, giving advice and encouragement. One evening, as the sun set, Nia felt tired but determined. She knew this was her chance to prove everything. Suddenly, the CEO appeared again. You think you can beat us all? We will see, he said with a cold smile. Nia didn't answer. She looked at the broken engine and whispered, I won't give up. Inside, her mind worked fast. She found problems others missed. She fixed wires, replaced parts, and cleaned the engine carefully. The last day came. The whole company gathered around. The CEO watched closely, waiting to see if she failed. Nia took a deep breath and turned the key. The engine roared to life. The crowd cheered loudly. The CEO stood silent, unable to hide his shock. Nia smiled quietly. She had done it again. But she knew this was not just about fixing machines. It was about breaking walls, fighting doubts, and showing that anyone could shine. That night, Nia looked at the stars and whispered, This is just the beginning. The next morning, the news about Nia's success spread like wildfire. People in the town talked about the janitor's daughter who fixed the impossible engines. Some started to admire her bravery and skill, while others remained doubtful, waiting for her to fail. Inside the company, things changed slowly. Some engineers who had laughed at her before now watched her with a new respect. They whispered among themselves, maybe she really can do it. But the CEO still kept his distance. His cold eyes studied Nia every day, trying to find a mistake. He did not want to admit that he had been wrong. One day, the CEO called Nia into his office. The room was big and filled with expensive things. The CEO sat behind a large desk, looking serious. Nia, he said, I must admit your work is impressive. But we have bigger challenges ahead. Our biggest engine, the Titan, is still broken. No one has fixed it in years. Nia listened carefully. The Titan was the most important engine in the company. If she could fix it, her place would be secure. If not, the CEO might find a reason to send her away. I want you to try, the CEO said. But remember, many have tried and failed. Nia nodded. She felt a mixture of fear and excitement. This was the test she had been waiting for. For the next few days, Nia worked hard. She studied the Titan engine's blueprints and asked questions. Some engineers helped her quietly. Others watched with doubt. Every night she stayed late, her hands moving carefully over the complicated parts. She fixed wires, tightened bolts, and cleaned every corner of the engine. Her father, Malik, visited often. He brought her food and encouraged her. You can do this, Amina. I believe in you, he said with a proud smile. One evening, as she worked, a group of engineers gathered nearby. They whispered, She's good, but can she really fix the Titan? Nia heard the words but did not respond. She focused on the engine, her eyes steady and strong. Then something unexpected happened. The engine suddenly made a strange noise. Nia's heart skipped a beat. She quickly checked the engine and found a hidden problem, a broken gear no one had noticed before. With careful hands, she replaced the gear. The engine was quiet again. The next morning, Nia told the CEO she was ready to test the Titan. The CEO looked surprised but agreed. The whole company gathered to watch. Nia took a deep breath and turned the key. The Titan engine roared to life, stronger than ever. The crowd erupted in cheers. Even some of the doubters clapped loudly. The CEO's face showed surprise, but he quickly hid it. After the test, the CEO called Nia again. Your work is remarkable, he said. You have earned your place here." Nia smiled quietly. She knew the real challenge was not just fixing engines. It was proving herself in a world that doubted her. That night, as she left the company, she felt a new strength inside. She whispered, "I'm just getting started." After the success with the Titan engine, Amina's life began to change. People around her looked at her differently now. Some showed respect, and a few even asked for her help with their projects. But not everyone was happy. One morning, Amina arrived at the company to find a cold, tense atmosphere. The CEO was talking to a group of men in suits. They looked serious and unfriendly. Amina's heart beat faster. She had a feeling something was wrong. Later, one of her friends whispered to her, "There are rumors. Some big investors want the CEO to fire you. They say you don't belong here." Amina felt a chill. She had worked so hard, but now powerful people wanted to push her out. She wondered if her background was the real problem, not her skills. That day, while working in the workshop, a stranger approached her. He was a tall man with a stern face. "I'm from the board," he said quietly. "The company is thinking about ending your contract. It's better if you prepare." Amina looked at him, shocked but calm. "Why?" she asked softly. "Some people believe a janitor's daughter can't lead important projects," he said. "They want someone with a better background." Amina swallowed her anger. She knew she had to fight, not just for her job, but for everyone who was judged because of their skin or background. That night, she called her father. Malik listened carefully and said, "They want to stop you because they fear what you can do. But you must keep going. Show them your true strength." Amina nodded, feeling the fire grow inside her. The next day, she decided to work on a new challenge, a machine that no one had been able to fix for months. It was a test that could prove her worth once and for all. As she worked, whispers and doubts surrounded her. But Amina did not listen. She focused on the machine, using everything she had learned. Days passed, and she slowly made progress. Then, late one night, the machine suddenly started working perfectly. Amina smiled quietly. Word spread fast. The CEO came to see the machine. He nodded slowly, clearly impressed. But just as things seemed to improve, Amina received an unexpected message. A meeting with the company's board, scheduled for the next day. The message was clear. This could decide her future. Amina felt a mix of fear and hope. She knew she must prepare for the biggest battle of her life. As she looked out of the window that night, she whispered, "I won't let them win. Not now. Not ever." The next morning, Amina walked into the tall glass building with her heart pounding. The boardroom was cold and quiet, filled with serious faces. The CEO sat at the head of the long table, flanked by other powerful men and women. Amina took a deep breath and stepped forward. She knew this meeting could decide everything. Her job, her future, even her dreams. The CEO looked at her with a cold smile. "So the janitor's daughter thinks she can run projects better than experienced engineers. Why should we believe her?" Some board members nodded, clearly against her. Amina stood tall. "Because I fixed what others could not. The engine, the machine. They work now because of my work. Not because of my background, but because of my skills and determination." A man in a suit sneered. "Skills? Or just luck? Maybe this is a one-time thing." Amina's eyes burned with quiet fire. "I don't believe in luck. I believe in hard work, learning, and never giving up. You can check my work anytime." The CEO leaned forward. "We are worried about your lack of formal education. Your father's job doesn't give you the experience this company needs." Amina shook her head. "My father taught me more about hard work and integrity than any school could. And I have learned everything I need to do this job well." The room fell silent. Some looked impressed, others still doubtful. Then the CEO said, "We will hold a final test. You will lead the next big project. If you succeed, you stay. If not, we part ways." Amina nodded without fear. "I accept." The test was announced to the entire company. It was the biggest challenge yet. A new engine that needed to run flawlessly under tough conditions. As the days passed, Amina worked harder than ever. She stayed late, fixing problems and testing parts. Her team began to respect her leadership and determination, but not everyone was happy. Some tried to sabotage her work, hiding parts or giving wrong information. Amina caught one of them, a jealous engineer, trying to ruin the project. She did not yell or complain. She calmly reported it to the CEO. The CEO looked surprised but did not punish the engineer. Instead, he warned everyone to focus on their work. On the day of the final test, the entire company gathered to watch. Amina started the engine. It roared to life, smooth and strong. Cheers filled the room. The CEO nodded slowly, finally giving a small smile. Amina's heart swelled with pride. She had proven herself against all odds. After the test, the CEO stood and said, "Amina, you have earned your place here. Welcome to the team." Tears filled her eyes. She had not only earned a job, but also respect. As she looked at her father's proud face in the crowd, she whispered, "This is just the beginning." Amina woke early. Today was her first official day as a lead engineer at the company. The air was thick with hope and nervous energy. Her father, Malik, stood by the door, holding her hand tightly. "You've made us all proud, Amina. This is your moment." Amina smiled, but felt a quiet weight in her chest. She knew this victory was not just for her. It was for every kid who was told they couldn't. At the office, people looked at her differently now. Some still whispered, but many nodded with respect. Her new team gathered around the big table. They were ready to work together. Amina opened her notebook and said, "We have many challenges ahead, but we will face them one step at a time, together." Suddenly, the CEO entered the room. He looked serious but sincere. "I want to apologize," he said quietly. "I was wrong to doubt you. Your hard work and courage have changed how I see things." Amina nodded, surprised but grateful. "From now on," he continued, "I want you to help us find and support talent no matter where it comes from. You have shown us what true skill means." The room broke into soft applause. Later that day, Malik sat beside his daughter in the small break room. "You did more than fix an engine," he said. "You fixed their minds." Amina laughed softly. "It wasn't easy, but I never stopped believing." As the sun set outside the tall windows, Amina looked out and dreamed bigger. She wanted to build engines that would power dreams everywhere. She wanted to be a symbol for those who felt small, unheard, or unimportant. Most of all, she wanted to prove that where you come from does not decide where you can go. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from a young girl at school. "You showed me I can be more. Thank you." Amina smiled, feeling a deep warmth in her heart. Tatu. Journey was just beginning, and this time everyone would watch her rise.